Mounting tensions in Egypt now as supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood call for widespread demonstrations today, protesting the military-led government's designating them as a terrorist group. One person already reportedly killed today. Lisa Daftari joins us, Mideast journalist, Fox News contributor. Good to see you. So, according to the new law, the Muslim Brotherhood is outlawed. Anybody who does anything to support them can be arrested immediately and face a long prison term. So all those protesters who dare to go out there today, they could end up behind bars.
Right, and they're being rounded up. And you have to look at what's going on here. The interim government is having a trouble of containing these groups, and Egypt will be in perpetual protest demonstration mode until we can get these groups off of the streets. But then you face this problem of suffocation and not allowing the people to protest and to organize the way that we know freedom.
So basically, Egypt is now reverting back to the martial law days of Anwar Sadat and Hosni Mubarak, in which the Muslim Brotherhood was outlawed for decades and decades. They essentially went underground.
Right. It appears, and a lot of people are accusing this interim government of doing, is just to protest, the culture of protest out of Egypt. They think that since 2011, since the toppling of Mubarak, this has been the go-to for the Muslim Brotherhood and their followers. But what you have to really look at here is that the Muslim Brotherhood, you can outlaw them, but there used to be a top-down hierarchy. But since they've gotten rid of some of these top leaders, it seems as though they have a widespread following, but not so much a deep one, right? So you have a lot of lone wolf, zealous terrorists among them. And the interim government, they did attempt to include the Muslim Brotherhood members and leaders in the government. They said, let's have an inclusive government. You guys can have your representatives be a part of our parliament system. But they refused.
Well, the Muslim Brotherhood had their chance. Mohammed Morsi was popularly elected. And then it took about a year for him to ruin the economy because he had absolutely no skills beyond politics. He had no business or economic skills, and neither did anybody he appointed to help Egyptians in their abysmal economy. It only got worse.
Right, and as it was very well demonstrated, is that revolutions and demonstrations don't happen because people are dreaming of a different type of government or of democracy or of justice or liberty, but they're hungry. The economy in Egypt is #1, and until they can get rid of these sideline terrorist groups and bombings, they can't go on with building their economy.
Sure. It's a tough balancing act to give them just enough freedom without giving them too much to be abused, at least in the Egyptian culture. But let me ask you this. General Sisi is the head of the military. He's the de facto leader right now in this interim government. Is he likely to seek the presidency himself?
It may be, because he is gaining a lot of popularity among the people. And what we have to look at here is that the silver lining being that the people's voices are being heard. And what happened with Morsi, the power grab, he came into office and the Egyptian people said, look, we didn't come into Tahrir Square for this type of government, and for Morsi to be overextending his hand. And as you said, they're much better at organizing these sideline groups than governing a country like Egypt. So it seems as though the military is gaining a lot of support within the country, and the people's voices are being heard.
Now, America has ripped away some of its financial support to Egypt. So what does all of this mean, big picture, for U.S. interests in the region? Right,
and it looks as though the U.S. made a big mistake by pulling its influence and money, therefore influence, in Egypt, and that was quickly swept up by the Saudis and the Kuwaitis and the Russians, who were cozying up to the Egyptian government, and soon to be the Iranian government, once again extending its hand to Egypt. Everyone knows that Egypt is such a pivotal player in the region, and what did we do? We stood back and said, was it a coup? Was it not a coup? Let's define this, and we pulled our money and therefore our influence, and the Egyptian people and government said, you know what, we don't need it. We'll get it elsewhere.
So what you're saying is the Obama administration, and the president in particular, vacillated and finally made a decision which you would regard as the wrong one, which is only going to alienate U.S. interests and ability and leverage in the region.
It was absolutely short-sighted. If you look at the big picture, the reason that Egyptian aid from the U.S. was implemented in the beginning was for many reasons. Those reasons still remain: keeping security of the Sinai, keeping peace with Israel. We still look to Egypt as a partner in keeping security in the region. And for one short-term, very short-sighted, one momentary lapse, I think they made the wrong decision.
Decades of American support, arguably, tossed away.
Yeah, they were our friends for many, many decades.
Right, and we needed them, which is why we gave them money.
And we still do.
Right.
Right.
Lisa Daftari, good to see you as always.
Of course.
Thanks.